I get back to the US now. As I mentioned, the big address to the nation by Joe Biden. We've been waiting days to hear from him. And as I discussed with Kristin Tate, it was a pretty dismal affair.
Yeah, I mean, he was on air for all of 11 minutes and did not give any of the millions of voters who did cast their ballots for him a reason as to why he was dropping out of this race. And of course, he stumbled, he bumbled, he had trouble actually speaking, and he told lie after lie, particularly about the border, because he was trying to protect Kamala Harris. The border has been her big failure. Yeah, it was just a pointless address full of lies and bumbling.
Yeah, I want to go to some aspects of that, and one of them is what he said about the border. Let's have a look at this.
We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America.
Yeah, incredible stuff, Kristin. As you say, that claim about the border is just false. It's not true. The border's never been less secure. There's never been more people coming across it. And then he segued straight from that to identity politics, which, of course, is the basis upon which he first appointed Kamala Harris, and he's still talking about it.
Yeah, of course. We've seen how well DEI has worked out for us. Just look at the way the Secret Service handled the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. You had, women who were shorter than him attempting to protect him from bullets. It was a disaster. But yeah, to say that border crossings are lower today than they were when Donald Trump was in office is insulting to the intelligence of the American people. Illegal border crossings were at lows under Donald Trump. They are at all-time highs under Joe Biden. They reached an all-time high for the history of this nation in 2022. Put this into perspective, we've had about 10 million illegal aliens cross our border, and those are just the ones that we know of under Joe Biden. This is more than the population of most U.S. states. So that is an outright lie. It's not even a half-truth spun into a sort of full truth. It is just a lie.
Yeah, let me go then to what I reckon is even a bigger deception, the grand deception at the heart of this statement from Joe Biden. Here he is about the power of the American democracy.
The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands.
Now, this is a problem, Kristin. He's saying the power is in your hands, but at the same time, he's saying if you vote for the other guy, then that's the end of democracy. He's not saying it's a free choice. He's basically setting this up as a battle for the future of democracy in the US.
Yes, the great defenders of democracy forced out the candidate that was put in place via votes from their own constituents, and now have coronated his replacement and told their voters to just deal with it. And now these people have the nerve to sit there and tell us that they are going to continue to defend democracy against the other candidate, Donald Trump, who was voted on by his supporters in the Republican Party. The whole thing is a joke, but this is all they've got. And this address puts Biden back in the good graces of the leftists. Of course, he was a pariah with donors a week ago. Now he's useful again in terms of getting people to get behind Kamala Harris. So now the media will tell us all, oh, he's so wonderful and gracious to step down for the good of the country. But the truth is he's just become a tool, a useful one for the Democrats.
Yeah, the other point, of course, that struck me, of course, is that Joe Biden says the time for a new and fresh voice is now, but it's not now. It's actually in late January next year, because otherwise, if the time was now, he'd be resigning. But no, he's promising to stick around close to 6 months more of his presidency to go. And rather than saying he's basically going to hold the fort, he's now promising even more radical leftist reform. Have a look at this.
I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform.
Kristin, Supreme Court reform, in other words, that is code for the left getting more moderate or more leftist judges onto the court. This must be deeply worrying. The left will love it, but it's got to be deeply worrying for mainstream America.
Yes, well, at this point, Biden has nothing left to lose. I mean, he's he's going to be gone within half a year. So he's probably just going to be as radical as he wants to be. But to your point earlier, the reason that he hasn't really given a clear reason for stepping down is because if he did, he would admit that he needs to become, get out of the presidency right now. If he's unfit to run, then he's unfit to be president of the United States. That's why he's not citing health concerns or any particular reason as to why he's getting out of the race, because that would mean he needs to get out today, and that today would be the time for a younger, newer generation. But he simply can't have that messaging, because it would mean that everyone would start asking, well, if you're not fit to run for president, what are you doing in the Oval Office right now?
Extraordinary times yet again, Kristin. Thanks for joining us. We'll see what next week brings.
I'm kind of scared to see, but certainly exciting times. Thank you, Chris.